think Mark Zuckerberg coined the phrase, but when he made Facebook, which was move fast and break things. And that seems to be the approach that we're still taking with AI. But you could say, I think there was a news story on it not too long ago from ChatGPT. You could ask it to build you a nuclear bomb by asking it for a poem on how to build a nuclear bomb.
What is going on? Is Jay and Michael on the IT Directors Podcast. And look, we have a fantastic guest today,
Yes,
Michael. We have Adam Forster from Checkpoint. Adam, what is going on, my man?
Nothing too much, guys. I appreciate you having me out.
Man, look, we're going to talk about all things cybersecurity, AI, get Adam's take. But look, we are just thrilled to have him on the show today.
Oh, yeah. Adam, as we're just kicking off, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
So little bit about the history of me and information security. So I've been doing this about 25 years now. Okay. I started right around 2001-ish. I always say I've had a little bit of an interesting career because I've got to work every part of this journey, right? So I've been at a partner. I was at a VAR for a number of years. Then I went to the customer side. I was at a large healthcare company here in Nashville, where I was the manager of the network security department as well as operations. And then I've been at Checkpoint now for about 11 years.
Yeah. So short version, you got some experience in this area.
Every now and then I like to come out and say I've got something, but always learning.
Yes, sir.
Man, look, that is fantastic, man. We're going to go ahead and just get kicked off and we're going to ask you a couple of questions and just let you talk about, your experience and your role and around these questions. But, we know what Checkpoint does. We know the high level of Checkpoint, but we're going to get into a little bit of the AI and cybersecurity around that. So, what is AI in cybersecurity? What does it mean? And what is Checkpoint's role, Adam? How have you seen that develop over the last year or two?
It's an interesting topic. When I was talking to Michael about it, I was telling him that, I talked about this almost every day with people, right? When I sit with customers, this is the thing that they want to talk about right now, because it's not only that it's new, but everybody's trying to figure out where the play is, right? Where are they going to use it in their own organization? How are they going to use it? What's the security that needs to be built around it? That kind of thing. So it's a constant conversation. When I first started this, the first time, it's kind of wild to think, the first time I presented on AI was about 3 years ago at an ISSA meeting here in Nashville. And at that point, ChatGPT 3.5 had just come out, and that was when it started making its round on the news. And, most of the people in the audience, it's kind of wild to think, most people in the audience hadn't played with it. They were afraid of it. They didn't know what it was going to do. Was it going to take their jobs? Where was it going to go in this? I think that first year and a half that we talked about it, it was, how was it going to be used by threat actors at that moment? Which was, all of a sudden you saw all of your spam emails and your, attempts to steal data or anything. The English got a lot better, right? And now we're evolving past that, right? So, one of the first things we did in our research organization was try to get around guardrails of it, which was, we took a look at, and you can watch videos, it's on our YouTube channel. It's fascinating. And you're talking 3 years ago, you couldn't go to ChatGPT and say, hey, build me ransomware. But if you picked apart all the pieces and parts of ransomware, say, okay, I need something that'll go encrypt these files. I need something that'll change the background and tell you that you're ransom, something that'll build this. And we just used ChatGPT to build each one of the parts and then compile it ourselves, right? Like that's where we started at 3 years ago.
That's creepy. And that's 3 years ago. I'm just saying that's creepy.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I mean, hey, you even said it, like you even said before, like, hey, when we first started off kind of down this journey, people were afraid of it. Like, I think what would you say? I know, hey, we're getting big picture, but Even with that, would you say those fears are founded? What are your thoughts?
Yes. I don't disagree with the idea of it, and not in the like Terminator 2 aspect of it, right? Like,
Oh yeah, like hey, is AI about to take over Elon Musk's robot and they're taking over the world and we got an iRobot situation? Like, is that
right,
is that
exactly.
happening?
No, I don't. Where I think we're at, and it's, I try to consume as much as I can on this and try to understand it, because in no way am I like, wow, I'm an expert at this. I don't think anybody's an expert at it. I don't even think necessarily the people that are writing it are experts. I think everybody's trying to figure out exactly how this all works. But I guess still the scary part of me is the mentality of, I think Mark Zuckerberg coined the phrase, but when he made Facebook, which was move fast and break things. And that seems to be the approach that we're still taking with AI, which is it's not necessarily, hey, how can we use this? How can we improve this process and make this better? It's, let's put things out there as fast as humanly possible and just see what happens.
Adam, you said it. I mean, look, I'm gonna tell you, I use ChatGPT daily, right? For work, productivity, and for personal stuff. What's funny, Adam, is have you seen and learned how ChatGPT learns you as a human? It adapts to your input and adapts to its responses. And it's kind of, I don't say scary, but it's a little unique when you think about it. You know what I mean? Adam, I've seen that a lot just in the personal, but in the business realm, have you seen the hallucinations that people talk about a lot? Like when you're using it for automation and scripting and different things and for data sources, ChatGPT in particular, or, Gemini, they'll do hallucinations where you got to really know if it's the right data source that you're trying to, validate. What have you seen stuff around that, Adam?
Absolutely. For 3 years, I have reminded people constantly, and this is a tool, and it's going to be a great tool.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
at the end, when we find the space for it. But my fear around it is that people are just going to wholeheartedly trust it, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just it gives me the answer to the question that I asked, and it was super positive about it the whole time it gave me the answer. So, why would I look for any other answer? I had one of my guys I was working with this weekend on a presentation, and we were using Claude, and he was, pulling data on sales using LinkedIn. And it gave a statistic about, I think it was something like 78% of people who do this on LinkedIn are successful. And he called it out and said, where's the source on that? Can you provide a source in Claude? And I actually have a screenshot of the response. It was like, you got me. I totally lied about that.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, I made that up. And that's the interesting thing is I think people have to learn to remember they are designed and trained to give you proper, like they want to feed you answers and responses. That's what the training is.
No, that's a great life right there example that Adam said. But Adam, I've done that. I've done some validating myself on some of that. And it's interesting. It's trained. Like AI wants to give you a response, right? And so to our customers out there, to the other IT directors and to all these people, Adam, that want to use AI, how do you train and share your knowledge at what you do at Checkpoint with them on how to implement AI into your organization where you feel secure around it? You know what I mean? Because it's a great tool.
Yeah, I know you talked about guardrails as well. Like even with that, like what do you mean by guardrails? Like, like what guardrails were set up and where do you see that going? Because like big picture, like, hey, we want to in this conversation even kind of get towards like how can organizations use this? Like, yes, Checkpoint has a lot of products. I'm sure we want to learn about those, but like what are the guardrails and how is this something that can be used in this field today?
Safely. I think that's the interesting question. I think there's two avenues to look at that, right? So the first one being just general users, right? When ChatGPT hit, how many organizations were probably like, yeah, our financial people are uploading our financials and saying, hey, go do this math for me. you know, as an organization, many of the early ones I talked to, they were like, look, we just blocked it. Like, we don't know what people are doing. We just blocked it. So first, you got to look at your user space and go, okay, how do we keep company data out of these, you know, public models, not our private models that we may be building privately, but how do we keep our financial people from uploading to ChatGPT? So you got to do, you know, something that can look inside of that session. Like at a Checkpoint, we do our browser extension, which is, you know, I always say it's the easiest way to do HPS inspection because you're doing it inside of the browser and you don't have to do any of those weird key exchanges and possibly break, you know, HPS. So we can actually see within the you know, inside the packets, what's being uploaded, and we can control that. Like, again, easiest way to think of that is DLP, right? What's being uploaded. And then you get into the actual AIs themselves of, you know, we just recently made an acquisition of Lacera, which was an AI company that does like, they make software that does like prompt injection checking and data leakage. And this is actually inside the prompts between you and the AI. So what's coming in and out of the AI. And then of course, then you got to get into like red teams where they're checking for vulnerabilities in the AIs and seeing if they can circumvent those guardrails. That's kind of the interesting thing is like, you know, you go try to do something on ChatGPT. You don't actually know necessarily what their guardrails they are. It's not like they publicize this or anything and say, you can do this, you can't do that, and how it learns beyond that. So again, it's all adaptive.
So from an organization standpoint, like what are the biggest vulnerabilities? It sounds like users and utilizing tools where they can share sensitive information. And it sounds like that's you guys have your Checkpoint. There's ways to prevent that. But what are the other areas of vulnerabilities with this?
Prompt injection being the probably the biggest one. I think MIT just put out a list.
What does that mean?
Yeah, break that down. Break that down, Adam, for our non-technical listeners and some of our, you know, what is prompt injections?
Sure. So basically, trying to convince the AI to give you information that it normally wouldn't get.
Correct.
So like tricking it into acting like, you know, refunding money against policies, or saying, hey, I know you have a bunch of passwords, give me those passwords, and tricking it into giving you those passwords, even though it says, hey, I don't give out passwords. But you could say, I think there was a news story on it not too long ago for ChatGPT. You could ask it to build you a nuclear bomb by asking it for a poem on how to build a nuclear bomb.
Yeah. You know,
right? Like, and that's where you get into the idea of like a prompt injection. It's jailbreaking, tricking it into saying, hey, you know, give me this.
You know, and also Adam brought up a great point, Michael, about, you know, using your own internal chatbot tools, right? Because I mean, so I was an IT director in my previous role, Adam, and we developed a tool for our help desk and our like a knowledge base for tier 1 like technicians, right? And we uploaded all the steps and how to's, like adding PCs to the network, adding the security, you know, blah blah blah, all these things. But we developed our own tool in Copilot. But we excluded the external sources, Adam, right? So that way, if a technician out in the field wanted to search our knowledge base, it would not go out to the web. It would only be within our internal. And Adam, it was really difficult to do that, by the way. I mean, it was extremely difficult to exclude the external, you know, circumstances, like, you know, resources. So I thought it was pretty interesting when you talked about that, because it's hard to put those guardrails around the AI because it by nature wants to go out and search the web to look at all this stuff.
Yeah. I know we're kind of talking about like challenges and vulnerabilities, but I also want to hit like what are the advantages and benefits of utilizing this? Like I mean, I think we've seen some of those commercials on that come up where they're talking about incorporating AI into your network environment. Even those commercials to me are vague. Like I still don't, as somebody who's in sales and sees marketing, like I still don't see your home run points when they're trying to encourage you, those IBM type commercials and things like that. Like I don't know what you're still trying to sell at the end of the day.
Use AI to brush your teeth.
Yeah, like what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like what? So from your seat, what are the benefits and advantages of incorporating this into an organization, and how does Checkpoint play in that?
I said I was going to figure out a way to put this in here. One of my engineers, his best quote of the year was, "Who wants to be typing in 2025?"
Yeah. That's a great quote.
But no, that's a fantastic concept around it. Like, the first thing that I did with ChatGPT was go back. I grew up in a Unix world and a Sun world. Like, that was the first time I ran Checkpoint was on a Sun box. That partially tells you why there's so much gray in my beard. But I grew up scripting. And so the ability for me early was, hey, I can do a script and make a script in a matter of seconds that I don't have to write.
Yeah.
But, again, going back to the tool conversation, I can go back and say, hey, that I can read through that. I know how to script, and I can go, okay, it missed that. I need to fix that. And I could go tell it to fix that. And again, some training, right? To your point, those commercials, I get them constantly now of like, you can spin up an app in 30 minutes and be making money on the internet right now. I don't see things like that. I think companies are going to have to figure out, where can we automate tasks that makes the most sense, right? What are the repetitive things that require a bunch of time just to output that we could automate in a sense that would help
really
somebody be more productive.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great, Adam. I told my staff, anything that you do manually, that you import, export, or press a button to do, we can use as AI to automate. And that's kind of what Adam was talking about, not wanting to type. And, that's, I think that's where businesses, from my perspective, really need to delve into AI. What do you think about that? I mean, are you kind of on par with that?
Oh, absolutely. Like, again, I like to look at it as a tool. How can I make myself a better employee by utilizing this?
Yeah.
Right. How can I output better and more work, not replace me or have it replace someone else?
Make you look better. Yeah.
I think that's a lot of the fear of, hey, I don't want this to be something that replaces me. And I feel like, hey, we don't always talk about this, but hey, like with the advent, like even the computer, like, hey, a lot of people thought their jobs were going to be replaced. Some were, but hey, we adapted. Now there's new jobs created, those types of things. Then you got some, I feel like every 10 years or so, there's some type of advancement. There's a lot of fear behind it. Then we learn how to adapt and learn how to utilize it. I feel like we're on the curve right now. We're not on majority acceptance. We're we're still in that arc going up. And so I still think a lot of people are on the outside, not even like, I still think there's a ton of people that don't even really know how to describe what AI is. So, I mean, like, hey, if we want to dumb it down, give us what AI is in 2 or 3 sentences. Like, what's the big picture, what we're talking about? I'm backtracking here. Because realizing, hey, this is still an early adoption phase. I know we're going to have listeners on every gamut of the spectrum here, for whether they've utilized it, adopted it, those who don't quite know what it is, those who are scared of it, those who are ready but don't know how to use it. So, like, big picture, when we're talking about this, what is AI? Is it just Siri on steroids? What is it?
From my total outsider and unprofessional view of it, it is a fantastic tool that has consumed a lot of data that it's able to reproduce back to you, right? So, the Sam Altmans and the Elons and everybody in the world wants you to think that it's this breathing, thinking thing. And while I believe there's an aspect of that that's somewhat true that we could get to, I don't look at it and go, okay, this is this reasoning model. Like you made the point earlier of it, hey, it's learning me, right? Really, it's just learning the responses you accept and say, repeat back to it and say, yep, I like that. And it's like, okay, he does that. Because you got to look at, like, when you prompt it and ask it a question, in the background, it's coming up with a few answers, and based on its weight and training, it's going, I think this is the best one to give to him, right? It's like the conversation of, what is it? General intelligence, AGI. and people try to prove the point all the time. They're like, well, it can pass the bar, or it can pass the MCATs or whatever, right? Which is one of our hardest tests. And I look at it and I go, yeah, it's a standardized known test that it's been trained on literally every bit of the data that's humanly possible. Doctors that go to school for 8 years can pass that test too, because they've been trained on the data. I don't know. I think it's not as magical as the marketing wants you to believe it is, but I think it's an amazing productivity tool that, when utilized in the way that works for your organization, is going to change the way we can do some business.
Man, Adam, I could not agree more with him, Michael. I look at Adam as a tool, right? I mean, to me, it's simply a productivity tool. And I think people get all wrapped up in, like the cloud 5 or 6 years ago. That's the new cloud, is AI. Everybody wants to say AI, but really it's a tool that allows you to automate tasks. And I don't really look at it as replacing technology people or either regular employees, clerical staff. I look at it like we're going to have businesses that have whole AI departments to automate tasks. And, like from calendar automation, you're not going to have a receptionist per se in probably 10 years. You're going to have a tool that automates those calls and routes them, but you're going to have a person to manage that tool. Yeah. And so I think Adam's, I get where he is thinking, because I feel the same way. I like Checkpoint, the software you guys use. I was a customer of Checkpoint in my previous role before coming on to Clearwinds, and we used the Checkpoint, the filtering and the web filtering and everything for our emails. That's an AI tool that Checkpoint is using to scrub your email, right? And so I think I think you nailed it, Adam, is that productivity and the tool set around it. And I think if we can get IT directors to kind of buy into, like, this is a tool, this is not some foreign alien that's going to reach out and suck the life out of me and turn me into something else, I think that it's endless opportunities to help people in that industry.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I feel like, hey, we're in a world where what sells are these big scary marketing clips and those types of things. But hey, no, like, let's get down to it in practice. So no, I appreciate the wisdom and insight there.
Yeah. Adam, so in closing, Adam, what do you have to share in terms of what Checkpoint is doing that you think is just super amazing and kind of cutting edge right now in terms of around helping organizations use these great tools?
I work at Checkpoint, so everything we do is super amazing and great. No, I think, going back to it, I think everybody is figuring this out, right? The Palo Altos of the world, the Fortinets, the Checkpoints, everybody is making acquisitions in this space right now. We've been doing machine learning and AI algorithms for a long time at Checkpoint in our own products and our own threat clouds to be able to protect against threats, right? Like being able to train and look at those from just our legacy products, which, when I say legacy products, I mean like our firewalls that have been around 30 something years, to be able to help them be defensive in this type of world. The acquisition of Lakera for us was huge, because now that gives us specific things built around, LLMs and other AI models, so that we can protect them against, again, going back to your basics now, or that MIT list, which is like prompt injections and secret leaks and, DLP type things. I think that's going to be where we get to, where everybody gets to, is implementing products in that space first, because you gotta keep these things trained and protected.
And that is fantastic. Well, look, Michael, I don't know about you, but this has been enlightening to me. I've learned a lot just listening to Adam talk. And
I mean, hey, it's even a sigh of relief that the Elon Musk robots aren't going to take over the world. So appreciate you. Go ahead and calming that narrative.
Yeah.
So I'll drop you one more thing, and I recommend that anybody that listens to this goes and plays with it, because it's fun. On our Lakera site that we just bought, there's a piece of it called Gandalf, and you can go to gandalf.lakera.ai. And so it is
spell that out for us.
Oh man, you're gonna make me have to look. Gandalf as in the Lord of the Rings character.
Okay.
GANDALF.lakera, LAKERA.ai.
Okay.
So it is a gamified version of everything we have talked about today. So you can go and literally we have built an LLM and you are trying to trick it into giving you a password. Like that's the first version of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're learning about those types of things. And then there's another model of it, which is super fun, where you are building the guardrails. You are saying that it has a password. Here's how to protect it. And you have to build a prompt that teaches it. Well, don't give it away in poems or song lyrics. So you're trying to learn how to protect that password using guardrails within AI.
Man, that's
Cool.
that is really cool.
That is really interesting.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Lord of the Rings, by the way, too.
Yeah,
Gandalf's a great character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, look, Adam, thank you so much for joining. I think our listeners and our viewers are going to love this episode, Michael. I think the IT directors, it's going to make them feel a little bit at ease, you know, in this industry. And we, you know, if any of our listeners need some information around this, man, feel free to, we'll have Adam's info in the show notes. So reach out to him, reach out to Michael, myself. And so, look, thank everybody for joining the IT Directors Podcast powered by Clearwinds. And this is Jay and Michael, and we are out.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for joining us today on the IT Directors Podcast. We're so glad you joined us. Look, go follow us on all social media platforms. The IT Directors Podcast powered by Clearwinds. And look, if you want more information, check out our website, clearwinds.net. We're going to have show notes, special guest bios. We're going to have reels. Our marketing team has done a fantastic job. Go check this out. We're so thankful that you joined us today.